Hi, everyone. Welcome to Empowered Expression. And today I have a really special guest for you. He's somebody that's been in my life. His name is JJ Smith. He's the King of Queens. He is a world famous pageant interview coach and also owns and runs a fabulous company called Winner Views. And we're going to have a wonderful chat to him. He's a fabulous character. Please welcome JJ Smith.
Hey, everybody. Howdy, I should say, from Texas.
Yeah, you are, because I've always loved your accent. And everybody, I think, just tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah, don't we look alike? Couldn't we be brother and sister? I mean, seriously.
Oh, well, that flatters me to know that you would be my sister. Bring it, Suzi.
You are so Texan, so Texan.
I was going to ask you, what accent are you talking about?
No, you don't have an accent at all. Absolutely.
I never noticed it.
We first met in 2017 when I had become Mrs. Earth Australia, my very first pageant. And I was so lucky to be coached by JJ before I went to Vegas to represent Australia. It was a wonderful experience. I learned so much about interview techniques, communication and presentation techniques, things that I didn't know. And anybody who knows anything about the pageant industry knows that pageants are won in interview. Interview is key. It doesn't matter how good you look, how beautiful your dress is, how well your hair and makeup is done. That is where pageants is won. Wouldn't you agree, JJ?
Absolutely. I always say pretty much exactly the same thing. You can have the most beautiful wardrobe, the most expensive evening gown. You can have your own team of hair and makeup artists and, be the most beautiful. But if you go in and you can't convey to the judges why you should be the title holder, then basically you're just another pretty face with a pretty dress. But the girls that sometimes we watch pageants sometimes, and maybe not the most likely looking girl sometimes wins. And when that happens, it's always my view that she probably won the interview and she captured the judge's heart, and that's all they needed.
Oh, absolutely. I think it was you that told me that when you're actually competing in pageants and you're going for your interview, you have to liken it to if you're going for the job as a CEO of a company, because really that's what you're doing for a whole year. You're representing this pageant system, and you need to be able to communicate with prime ministers and people from all walks of life, because you never know who you're going to come across. You're going to be raising money for charities a lot of the time, and you're going to be put in situations where you need to be a really good communicator, and you really need to understand what your story is. And when we were working together, you really helped me understand who I was and how I could actually control the narrative of what I was saying and what I was doing. You've been doing this for like over 20 years now, haven't you? And you've coached some amazing world famous queens in all sorts of pageants all over the world, which has been, I was so humbled to have you as my coach.
The honor's mine.
Isn't it great, everyone?
That's absolutely mine.
It really was. You taught me.
If I recall, turning this to you for just a second, Suzi, if I recall, I believe that you finished way up in the top 3 at that national pageant. Am I not, or that international pageant? Am I mistaken about that? I think my memory is there.
You are absolutely right. I did. I came third. I was competing against 36 other women from around the world, from the ages of 21 up. Half of the women I was competing with, I could have given birth to. So, at 55 years young, I very proudly came home with third place and press around the world, tomboy to beauty queen. But the thing that you taught me on those sessions that we had together was how to not just do the interview, how to conduct myself, who I actually was in the pageant system as Mrs. Earth Australia and as Mrs. Earth Health, which really gave me the knowledge and the power to have interviews, live interviews with radio and TV. I was at home 2 hours later. I was on the biggest morning show in the country in Australia. I had press go around the world, 55-year-old tomboy to beauty queen.
Those doors of opportunities that open the minute that crown goes on your head, the doors swing wide open and people welcome you with open arms. They want to know you and hear about you and know your story. And I like to say people like to put beauty queens on a pedestal.
They do, but you need to be prepared to be on the pedestal. And just if you look good or wear good clothes, it's the interview part and the interview coaching that is what prepares you for this life journey that you're going to be on, because it doesn't just stop after a year, because I'm still doing interviews now and it's 2023 and it completely changed my life, pageantry. And the things that I learned off you were a big part of it. And I'm sure that I know that you have coached many, many women to do the same. And people think pageantry is big in the States and Philippines and in other countries, and it's growing in Australia. But we're kind of a young country as far as the power of pageantry and how it can really change women's lives. And like you said, doors will swing open.
Absolutely. You know, Australia can be very proud on the international stage because you all have won the Miss World title and the Miss Universe title. And I know Miss Universe, you won it twice, Carrie Ann Wells, and more recently, Jennifer Hawkins. And so y'all can be quite proud to step up on the international stage. But Suzi, getting back to what you were saying is when you are crowned, you have to realize that you have to kind of consider it as a job opportunity. And you are the CEO of your company because, you know, people are going to want to know you. You're the spokesperson. And some people have a platform. Some people just wing it and are themselves. But the main thing that I always tell my girls is that the obligation, for lack of a better term, is that when you're awarded a pageant title and you become a beauty queen and people basically, like I mentioned, we put you on a pedestal and we dress you in pretty dresses and we do your hair and makeup and we ask for your autograph and ask if we can take our pictures with you and these things. It's then your obligation as the title holder to give yourself away, because it's not just about the adulation that you receive. It's like, it would just be unfair if you weren't to be able to share your story and your journey. And there will be many, many little girls and sometimes little boys that will be inspired by you, that will look up to you and that will want to emulate you and follow in your footsteps. And so it's really your obligation to give yourself away and to hopefully inspire every single person you meet. You might be at an elementary school with some little schoolgirls. You might be at a retirement home, with some elderly people, but you can still inspire people to live their best lives through you. Sometimes we live vicariously through other people. And when we do that, we pick up that, well, I can't be her or I can't be him, but I can be the best me. And every person has value. Every person has talent. Every person has meaning. And when you inspire people to give that away to other people themselves, then even if you can look back and say, I know that I did that, then you've left the world a better place.
Oh, it's so beautiful. You're so right. That's so true. And you've managed to help so many of us. And you've done it as well, leave the world a better place. And you continue to do that. And you've had your stint as a star on TV. I know that you were a host of The Hottest Mama in America, The Hottest Mom. We call it Mom. You're the host of The Hottest Mom in America. What was that like?
Oh, that was such an incredible journey. We basically went all over the United States and we invited all of these. The criteria was that you had to have children. So you had to be a mom. So it was the hottest mom in America. And so these really hot, good looking, great, it didn't matter what age you were, came and brought their children and they competed in a pageant style competition. And it was just wonderful. I think a lot of the moms became friends themselves. And so every city we visited, we left something good behind. You didn't have to win to get something, to gain something really meaningful.
Oh, that's wonderful. That would have been
That's great.
fun. That's the thing, actually, is I didn't win the international pageant. And I've often spoken to people about it's not actually about winning, it's about what you do with your experience.
Completely.
And how you share it, like you were just saying, how we talk to people and how we share our journey with others that inspires them to empower themselves to be their best them in whatever they're doing in the world, which is awesome. You were also on a show, you were coaching. Now, your Mama June and her daughter, Honey Boo Boo, who were for a little bit, who were quite outrageous and outlandish characters, I say, who were quite loud here in America and quite ish, but we saw a bit of them in America.
Right, right.
That experience. Did they win?
They actually came in first runner up.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah, it was like Honey Boo Boo, and was awarded the Miss Congeniality title by, voting from the other contestants that were in the pageant. When the producers contacted me and told me that we're putting Mama June and Honey Boo Boo in a pageant, and we want you to be their coach to help them win, the first thing I told them is you realize I'm a pageant coach, not a miracle worker. And I believe that's the line that they instantly said, okay, JJ, you're hired. We don't need to see anymore. And so off I went to Atlanta, where the show was filmed, and it was completely and totally unscripted. They would sort of give me the idea what the scenario was, and pretty much went in there and chew the scenery up, so to speak. And it was a lot of fun. I will say that Mama June is one of the sweetest, nicest people that you will ever meet, and she is what she is. And as far as Honey Boo Boo, I'll just say she was a handful.
That's very diplomatic. I love it. Very diplomatic. Well, the thing is Honey Boo Boo, she's still a kind of a child anyway, isn't she? Or a teenager. I mean, there's growing up to do there. Who knows what sort of woman she'll actually blossom into when she eventually blossoms,
I think she's going to be okay. I really do. I think she's, she's had some tough times as a child and as a teenager, and, perhaps not surrounded by the best role models. And many of us are like that, I mean, I didn't come from, the greatest childhood. I'm very unashamed. And I even share this with my pageant girls that, I came from a very dysfunctional family. I say that, my parents put the funk in dysfunctional. And but you also learn from your parents not only good morals and values, which I'm very, very grateful to both of my parents for instilling those things in me, but you also learn what you are not going to do when you grow up and become an adult. And so it works both ways, so life's about choices. And, sometimes we choose to follow in our parents' footsteps. And then sometimes it's like, I'm going to go a different path than you, Daddy and Mama did. But I just, I'm very grateful that I'm still standing.
That's excellent. I think we do. A lot of us come from dysfunctional families. Mm-hmm. And I think the secret, like you just said, is choosing the best parts.
Absolutely.
Things we can use. I mean, I became the mother that I wish to have.
Yeah.
I was raised by a narcissist mother, and there's lots of things I do that I'm grateful for, Being a high achiever is a good thing, because I constantly was trying to get attention. So you're always striving higher and higher and working harder and harder. And in adult life, that's a really good thing, So I think our childhood, it's what we make of it, isn't it?
Absolutely.
I think when you're a little boy that you'd become a pageant coach. What did you want to be when you were growing up?
Well, how this all started, Susie, was in the United States, pageants were a big deal, for many, many years, and they were always shown on TV. So we were here, we would have the Miss Texas pageant on TV, and of course the Miss USA pageant and the Miss Universe pageant. Now, of course, a lot of people probably realize there that the Miss World pageant is was always based in London. And so it didn't air in the United States, but we would read about it in the paper. But we would watch the Miss USA and Miss Universe pageant, and my parents would make it kind of like a fun contest. We'd get a big bowl of popcorn and something cold to drink, and the pageant would start, and then they would introduce the contestants. And then after the last contestant was introduced, my mom and dad and I would pick the one that we thought was going to win. So that would be the one that we would follow. And believe it or not, Suzi, I had the most uncanny ability to choose the winner. We were watching the Miss USA pageant, and I said, "Oh, I want Miss Alabama." And Mama said, "Well, sweetie, wait till the last one and then pick." And anyway, we went all the way to Miss Wyoming. And the first thing I said is, "I still get Miss Alabama." And a couple of hours later at the end of the pageant, Miss Alabama won. And then along comes the Miss America pageant a few months later, and we did the same thing. And I went, "Oh, I think Miss Kansas." And believe it or not, Miss Kansas won. And that was also the year that Miss USA that I had picked actually won the Miss Universe pageant as well. And my parents were like, this kid's got some kind of special talent. We just don't know how to tap into it, but it is what it is. So that's kind of how it all got started. And then I used to sort of direct some of the girls in my hometown who would want to win homecoming queen and that type of thing. And then, of course, I wrote for Pageantry Magazine as a feature writer and got to travel and that type of thing. And then I just parlayed that into starting to coach pageant girls on a local basis. And then it went, to I had my first Miss Texas USA winner of many, many winners to come. And then before you knew it, I had a Miss USA, and I had 3 Miss Teen USA winners, 3 Miss USA winners, a Miss Universe I mentored. A girl I've coached won the Miss World America pageant. She placed the top 10 in the Miss World pageant. And then, of course, there's many other pageants that aren't so well known, but are still very, very well respected, and they get a vast amount of contestants. And it's just been an incredible and humbling experience for me to see so many girls that I've been able to work with accomplish their goal, and sometimes give me a little too much credit, because I tell them I'm not the one up there in heels and an evening gown, because you really don't want to see that, okay? But it's been really humbling and an absolute joy to be on their journeys with them.
Oh, that's wonderful. And I imagine they have completely loved having you absolutely with them side by side.
Well, the feeling's mutual. I think one of the greatest, feelings of gratitude that I get is, even to this day, I may have worked with a girl, 15, 18, 9 years ago, and I'll still get a ping and, a message or a Facebook post or an Insta or, even a call sometimes. And out of the blue, it'll be like, "Hi, this is remember me?" And I went, "How could I forget you?" And she'll say, "JJ, just wanted to take a minute to tell you that I interviewed for my dream job today, and I absolutely use your interviews techniques in my interview today. And I just had to call you because they called me and told me I got the job." And so it just is so heartwarming to know that you leave a good and lasting and positive impression, with people as they go on and live their lives.
Oh yeah, and your techniques, Winterviews, your company, they're your techniques, aren't you, that you've developed?
Absolutely.
From I mean, you haven't just been a pageant coach. You've also been a judge as well. So and you're yeah, exactly. So what judges are looking for. And the thing is it's like you're just talking about the young woman that went for a job interview. This is not just about pageantry. These sort of skills that you teach are about life and they can apply to any job that you go for. That was for me, having done, to people who watch me and know this podcast, I've done a lot of press around the world, and because of my training with you, JJ, back in 2017, I never forgot the techniques that you taught me on actually how to
you.
control, dear darling, definitely how to control the
Oh,
narrative. Sometimes I was asked as a beauty queen the dumbest questions, really silly questions, and you're on live TV, and I would always bring it back round to, oh, that reminds me of this time when I was collecting for this particular charity, and I'd bring it back round with grace and dignity. And that's something that you also teach. You teach how to communicate so beautifully. And over the years, the techniques that you've taught me and what I learned back then, I have used my whole life since then, and in every interview that I've ever given and done. And I know that it's because of my time with you that it stayed with me. Sometimes we can't unlearn things sometimes
right.
when they're really good, and you're an excellent teacher.
Thank you. I
So
always tell my girls that, as far as, you're of course representing your title and the pageant system and your director, that type of thing, but you are always representing yourself. And one really good rule of thumb that I try to instill and impart to the girls that I work with, they're my girls, I always call them, is, never say anything that you wouldn't say in front of your grandmother. Never say anything that you wouldn't say in front of your parents. And that sort of gives you at least a little boundary to stay within, rather than, run off willy-nilly and become a loose cannon and think that you're entertaining or funny. And then all of a sudden you've accidentally put your foot in your mouth and you're sitting there turning red and embarrassed in front of everybody. So if you just kind of keep that rule in mind that, you're always representing yourself first and foremost, even before the title. And, be the positive role model and the person that people want to look up to and emulate. Be that person. And when you kind of follow those simple rules, you really don't go wrong very often.
no, you're quite right. You're quite right. And there were definitely things that I followed in my career so far, which have really stayed with me. And you also coach coach business people as well, businessmen and businesswomen, to go for job interviews, don't you?
Absolutely, yeah.
But that's another part of Winterviews and the coaching that you do, because interviews are interviews, aren't they?
Right, absolutely. I do get people in the corporate world. In fact, not long ago, I had a gentleman call me and he said, JJ, I've heard so much about you and your techniques, and you came referred very highly, but I don't know if you can help me, because he explained that he had been in outside sales, where he traveled and was constantly living out of a suitcase in hotels and taxis and buses and airplanes. And he goes, and JJ, I'm finally reaching a point in my life, age-wise, that I don't know how much more I can do with this, but my company does have an office position that I believe I would be perfect for. But one of the criteria is that I would have to reapply and re-interview and walk in, because they're going to handle this fairly, just as if anybody should be able to attain the position. But I want to give myself an edge. Can you help me? And I said, how soon can you come see me? And so we revamped his resume. I got him on track to where he was not, sometimes, Suzi, people are reticent to talk about themselves, because most of us as children are sort of taught, or, we're kind of like, instilled that when you're talking about yourself, you're bragging. And if you think about it, if you're in an interview, whether it's a pageant interview with judges or a corporate position or an office job or whatever position, I'm meeting with them, interviewing with the manager, you have to make certain that you go in and that you're capable of talking about yourself and sounding confident and assured of your abilities and your skills. And that's the things that I try to impart to this man. It's like, you have wonderful experiences. This job will go hand in hand with what you're applying for. These are wonderful experiences that they will latch onto. And so he started slowly but surely kind of gaining this confidence in his speaking abilities and his presentation skills. We revamped his wardrobe a little bit, because he was going to now be working in an office. And his grooming, of course, that plays a part of it. Mostly women are at nail salons getting their nails done, but nobody wants to see gnarly fingernails on a man either. A nice trimmed haircut, or even if you wear your hair long, at least it can be clean and groomed and, shaved. And so it was really nice that a few weeks later, I got a call from this gentleman and he said, JJ, thanks to you, I am now the new in his job title. And I said, well, I appreciate the compliment, but it's thanks to you and your belief in yourself, because you're the one that walked in there, interviewed, presented yourself, and they totally knew exactly what they wanted and they found it in you.
That's what a wonderful story. That's so good.
It's a great feeling. It's a great, it's like, we both win. When my girls win, I win.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. The thing with life, though, is what some people don't realize is that we can't do this alone. And it's really important to have a coach at certain times of your life. People have life coaches. They have, interview coaches, presentation skills coaches, different coaches. And sometimes people who don't understand the value of a coach and how they can really help guide them on the right path that they're supposed to be on. They're like, oh, no, I don't need a coach. Like, yeah, but you do. I think even Oprah says she has 3 coaches, and that's Oprah. We all need coaches at different times. And there are all sorts of people out there. I imagine you may have had coaching at some stage in your life along the way. Who knows? Or you just may just be naturally fabulous.
Well, I was interested at a young age in public speaking, and whenever I finally was able to take speech classes in school, my teachers and my directors were just my absolute mentors. And even though I have graduated high school a few years ago, I am still to this day very, very good friends and close to my high school drama director. And this is one way that I was coached and I absorbed it. It's because I found something that I liked and I wanted that was meaningful to me. My brother was all sports minded and that type of thing. And he excelled in his arena, but mine was more the creative side. And I knew that I wanted to act and be on stage and be a public speaker, that type of thing. So I really, really applied myself. And I remember the very first speech tournament that I went to. I practiced all of these categories that I entered. And so we, went to on a Saturday, they bussed us over to the tournament, and there were all these 35 or 40 schools and just hundreds of kids, competing. And I made it to the finals in all of my events. And then that afternoon at the award ceremony, I won all of my events and I won the top point speaker of the entire tournament on my first try. And I tell this story because I want to instill in the people that I work with, most of my pageant girls, that you can, if you believe you can. And I believed in me. And, there's an old saying, if you don't believe in you, nobody will. But I believed I was going to win, and I went to win. I went to be competitive. And I'm a very competitive person to this day. Suzi, if I play you a game of cards, I'll play to beat you. Okay? So the reason why I was able to do that is because I believed in myself. And, later with, going to speech tournaments and entering different events, that type of thing, I became better at orational speaking. I actually won the VFW National Voice of Democracy speech contest, beating 231 people for that award, which gave me a wonderful college scholarship. And, that has helped me as well. So to me, it's like the people that think that they can do it on their own, sometimes they can't. Sometimes they just have the right combination to walk in, or they just innately know. But most people benefit from having a coach, a mentor, someone who can guide them and sort of like help them sidestep the pitfalls and concentrate on the positives.
Oh, excellent. So mindset is a really big part of winning anything, isn't it? Like you said there, you believe that you're going to do it. I believed I was going to win Mrs. Earth. I would imagine it in my head every day.
I believed you were going to win too.
And I remember when I actually went down to the competition, my very first, because I'm quite competitive as well. And there was another lady there who was around my age, and actually she was 55 as well. And I was talking to her, and she said, "Oh, I'm just here because I love the girls and I love being around them and I love the atmosphere." And I said, "Oh, that's awesome." I said, "I'm here to win."
That's what I tell my girls. If you're voted Miss Congeniality, that's beautiful. If you win the photogenic prize, that's wonderful, but that's not what you're here for. Your focus should be on winning the title,
Yeah.
because nothing feels better than winning.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And mindset, like you're saying, if you believe it and you believe in your mind, and when you're coaching people and you're coaching them in interview, do you teach them about mindset? What sort of things do you talk about mindset and where they should place them, how they communicate? I like to talk to people about how they communicate to themselves about themselves and to others about themselves, because the words we use to describe ourselves to ourselves is really important. You might say that you're going to win something, but if in your head you're going, "Well, not really," then you're not going to win. You've got to walk it and talk it, and make it happen.
Absolutely. Walk the walk and talk the talk.
Yeah.
The first thing I generally, impart to the girls that I'm working with is everybody's nervous. Everybody has the jitters, the adrenaline gets, there's something at stake here. And that can really get in your head, and you can get in your own head by doing that. I always say nerves are also contagious. If you're around some other contestant who's just a bundle of nerves and she's kind of latching onto you, it's almost like you kind of have to cut the cord a little bit, because competition is competition. You can still be sweet and good spirited, because pageantry has no place for mean spiritedness at all, ever. But the thing is I always tell my girls, before your interview, take a moment for you. If you're in a hotel, if you're in a conference room, find a quiet place, find a window to look out of. Try to find a good solid foundation that you've sort of calmed your own nerves, okay? And then whenever it's your turn, you've been summoned, it's your turn to compete, it's your turn to interview. They're leading you into where the judges are, or the person that's interviewing you. That way you have more of a foundation that you've built mentally, and you're calmer, you're more collected with your thoughts. And then, of course, it's the main thing is, when you think about it, a panel of judges want to know who you are. And it's generally a timed interview. You don't have, 3 or 4 hours to talk about your whole life. You have a certain amount of time, even on a job interview. Everybody's busy. And you have to really be able to get in there and listen to the questions, but convey who you are. That's the hunger that they're looking for. Is we're hungry for you. We're trying to find out about you. So if you get lost on the question over here, you've stepped out of the spotlight. But if you're talking about your experiences and who you are, sometimes it's your morals and values, your opinions, the things that matter to you, your experiences, sometimes what your life has been like. That's what people remember. That's what that's what sticks to people and leaves the impression. And an interview is always pretty much called that. But I also try to blur that as well, Suzi. And I tell my girls, let everybody else go to an interview. You're just simply going down and having a conversation. You're having a conversation with some people who don't know you. They perhaps have looked at your bio or your contestant profile, seen your picture in the program book, and they're wanting to know you. But these people aren't against you. They're really hoping that you do your best, because our job is to find the right one. And if you view it as more of a conversation, people sometimes think of interview as a firing squad. They're going to fire questions at me. I better have the right answer, or they're going to not like me. And if you remove that aspect of it as well, and just think, I am who I am. I've got the skill set and the experiences that I carry in my life. and I'm just going to go down and have a conversation with people and let them know who I am. I have found that more girls win pageants with that strategy because they come out and they say, JJ, I've learned to be myself. And I always tell people, no matter whether you're in a pageant or at the grocery store or having a cup of tea with someone somewhere, you are always better when you are yourself.
Great advice, JJ.
I
Excellent.
practice it for myself. I'm always better when I'm just me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea. There are going to be people that simply don't like you, but because of whatever, jealousy or envy, or perhaps the way you look. I had somebody come up to me and just out of the blue, a total stranger comes up to me and says, why do you wear your hair like that? And I learned from the book Miss Manners, turn of the millennium book of manners, that whenever you get a question like that, it's always appropriate to answer with a weak smile. Let me tell you, Susie, sometimes it can stop them cold. And sometimes people just simply don't think before they blurt something out, and we've all done that,
No.
Sometimes it's intentional. And one of my skill sets, I like to call it, is the fact of I've now become a lot more adept at knowing what to respond to and knowing what I don't have to respond to. And it's not being negative, it's being a little bit self-protective, because if someone is bringing negativity into your realm, that is what I call that is not allowed in mine. I've just, life is too short. The day is too short. We all have the same 24 hours. Why would anyone want to concentrate on anything negative? And so just by not responding to it, removing it, and moving on into positivity, that has helped me live a very happy, fulfilling, joyous, meaningful life. And when you can say that, you've pretty much, you've got this life thing handled.
Absolutely. Excellent words of wisdom, JJ. Thank you so much. I'd love to know what you did say to her. My immediate thought was because you can, because you've got great hair, and why would you wear it any other way? Like you said,
not for everybody, but hey, the good thing is that when you're grown, you can do what you want to do.
Yeah, that's right. And you get to I'll show us the fan before we go.
There we go.
So there we go. Got to have, look at that, everyone. You got to have air in your hair.
I should have said the reason why I wear my hair like this is so I can do this. That's and you have to laugh at yourself a little bit along the way too. Life doesn't need to be that serious, right, Susie?
Absolutely.
Learn to laugh at yourself.
Absolutely. Oh, it's one of the funny things that I do in life, and it seems to amuse everybody really a lot. So, well, thank you, JJ. Is there any other things you would like to leave us with, especially the pageant girls and women that are going to be watching? Where can they reach you as well to be coached, to actually be able to be coached by the King of Queens and the best pageant interview coach in the world?
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So my website is www.winnerviews.org, and it's a combination of winning interviews, so winner views. You can also pick up the phone and call me. I'm right here in beautiful Houston, Texas, as hot as it is, but that's why I have this. And you can text me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I'm on, what's the new one called? So you can keep up with all of them.
TikTok, on TikTok?
Meta.
And Facebook and
the new one.
I don't know. There's so many. I could go to them.
But I would invite anyone who feels like that I could help them, and if you utilize my techniques, please contact me. I'll be more than welcome to share every single thing I know with you, and you'll absolutely be in a no judgment zone. One thing I tell everyone I work with is that rule number one is that I will never share anyone else that I work with you, And I will never share anything that you and I talk about with anyone else ever. I want to have your full, I want to have your full trust, and I want you to have mine. And I think that when you build a foundation like that with people, it breaks down the barrier that they sometimes don't know how much or what they can say. And with me, you are not only in a non-judgment zone, but you're in a free to be you zone. And that's how I live my life. And I encourage every single person to do that and to believe in yourself. It'll get you a long way in life.
Thank you so much, JJ. It's been so lovely chatting with you and hearing your stories and all your great motivation for everybody in the pageant world and in the world in general. I'm so humbled and so grateful that you came on my little podcast. And you said earlier on that you end up being connected with people. And sometimes, random women that you coach reach out to you. And here I am, the random woman who hasn't spoken to you.
No.
Here it's 2017. And
Exhibit A right here in front of you, everybody. Look where it took her, right?
Exactly.
It's an absolute honor. You are an absolute darling jewel. What a precious person you are. And I just want you to know how deeply I admire you and love you. Thank you so much for coming into my life.
Oh, thank you, JJ. The feeling's mutual. Thank you so much. And thanks to everybody for watching us today. I know you've really enjoyed listening to JJ, and get in touch with him because he is the best coach ever. Thank you so much. Bye-bye, JJ. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.